And we're talking with Gary Myers, the well-regarded, well-respected, longtime NFL columnist, New York Daily News, on his recent column on OBJ. Hey, Gary, Roger Weiland, good morning.
Roger, I just hope I get an invitation to this wedding. But it's just completely stupid. It's out of control. It's not about football anymore with him, and that's a shame. It's time he kind of calms down and just worries about helping the Giants win games. I mean, he's an extremely competitive player, but the antics are just ridiculous at this point.
Did this start? You saw this happening, and when you were your time a couple of years ago, right? Can you remind us of what happened with OBJ?
Yeah.
Against
I mean, it was a game against the Rams in December, and they're playing the Rams Sunday in London, so that's why I wrote about it now. He had been spinning the ball and doing his touchdown celebrations and all that kind of stuff leading up to that Rams game. So, the word was out on him, and the Rams do have a reputation of being the dirtiest team in the league. And he got into something with safety named T.J. McDonald early in the game where after scoring, he did that spinning of the ball and got a taunting penalty, and then McDonald got a taunting penalty for pushing him in the face or something like that. And then there was just what appeared to be an innocuous play where he caught a short pass from Eli and ran out of bounds, and Alex Ogletree just body slammed him, and it started a brawl on the sidelines. And so a lot of the same players, Ogletree, McDonald, William Hayes, who got into it on the sidelines during that, they're all still there with the Rams. And I just have to imagine that knowing how the NFL is, all these players have long memories. And, I wrote about today that these guys might be closing an international event on Sunday, but not a good one.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll be trying to bait Odell Beckham Jr. any way they can. We'll see if he ends up taking it. Gary, here's a question for you. What do the Giants do? I mean, how do the Giants deal with this right now? Who gets to Odell Beckham Jr. and says, look, knock it off?
Well, they've been trying. McAdoo's told them that, and Eli, in his own way, he's been taking some shots at him. He even said yesterday, that if they weren't winning, this would be really difficult. Now, to handle, I mean, Eli should just say, regardless of whether they're winning or not, they can't have this anymore. And he has said that in the past. I don't know. I mean, I think the fact that Tom Coughlin didn't discipline him at all last year in the Carolina game when he went at it with Josh Norman, Coughlin was fighting to keep his job at that point, and Beckham was his best player, and he didn't want to bench him even for one play. Forget about a series or even for the rest of the game. And I think that enabled him. He felt he can get away with anything. And to try to reel him back in now is not the easiest thing. The thing that's really surprising, Roger, is he is a good kid. He comes from a really good family. He's a smart guy. There's just something for those 3 hours on Sunday it's just not clicking with him. And, he almost and could have cost them the game on Sunday by taking off his helmet after that, what turned out to be the game-winning touchdown, because it cost them, 15 yards on the kickoff. If the Ravens were able to convert that into the game-winning touchdown, Beckham even acknowledged after the game that he knew what he was in for in terms of the criticism. So, why he can't realize that, when he's in the moment, but after the game is apologetic and understanding of what his actions, what the repercussions could have been, why it's not sinking in when he's doing it. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, Roger, one thing I suggested in the paper a couple weeks ago that it's nice to have a level-headed guy like Eli in your locker room, but sometimes you need to hear from other people, and I seriously suggested that they find a way to connect him with Derek Jeter or David Wright, two guys who have yet at a very young point in their careers had tremendous success in New York, but never made these kind of headlines. And he just, I know he's been friendly with LeBron James, but for all of his greatness, he's never played in New York. He's played in Cleveland and Miami. he needs someone to really sit him down and say, you know, you're not getting it, young man, and this is, hey, if you want to make it in this town, this is what you got to do.
Hey, Gary, Zach By joining Roger this morning. I got to ask you this. I know the guys are saying, that the members of the Giants are saying the right things when asked by the media, but you can't tell me those guys are co-signing that behavior, can you?
Well, you know, I can't imagine that they're in favor of this, but until it actually costs them a game, I don't know that anybody's going to publicly be speaking out against him. I'm sure behind the scenes, you know, some of the older guys on the team are trying to get through to him. I know he's friendly with Dion and he's friendly with Michael Irvin, guys who went through their own stuff with the showboating on the field, and you know, hopefully, I know Irvin has become almost like a voice of reason in, you know, with Beckham, and but as far as the guys in the locker room, nobody has really come out and ripped them. I mean, Eli's come the closest, but you know, if you are familiar with how Eli speaks, it never really sounds as bad as maybe it reads. So I don't know that he's getting his point across.
Yeah, I don't think he is. And we're talking with Gary Myers, the well-regarded, well-respected, longtime NFL columnist, New York Daily News, on his recent column on OBJ. And I will say this, Gary, I'll throw this out there. We fielded some calls here yesterday, and there is a certain demographic of the younger demographic that they kind of like what OBJ does. They find it entertaining. They don't find anything wrong with it. It's like must-see TV. Let's tune in to watch the Giants to see what Odell Beckham Jr. is going to do next. There is that line of demographic, believe it or not.
And I believe it. It's just fine. You want to go watch Dancing with the Stars or something like that, or you know, whatever these other reality shows. I mean, that's not what you're watching a game for. You know, you're watching him to see him score on a 66-yard touchdown with just a minute to go in the game to win it. I mean, he's electrifying. He's explosive. I mean, that's enough. This other stuff is just, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to celebrate touchdowns, and you know, although you see with baseball, there's little dances at the dugout after, you know, the Mets do that after somebody hits a home run or whatever. But some of the stuff in the NFL, I mean, it is out of control. And I know that Roger Goodell and you know, is trying to rein it back in somewhat without, you know, taking the spontaneity and the exuberance out of the game. But there's got to be a limit. I mean, are people really watching these games to see Beckham get down on one knee and propose to a kicking net? Is that really what it's come to?
You would hope to think not, but again, in fielding some of the calls that we fielded yesterday, it was, you know, 21, 22, 23-year-olds, those demographics out there, you might be surprised. Hey, Gary, I appreciate a few minutes. Great column today on Odell Beckham Jr., and we'll be back in touch.
All right, take care, Roger.
Thank you, Gary. Good job, as always.